Hello and welcome back to the Soul Force Music Fireside Chats. I'm Joseph Arnold.
I'm Aaron Beekeleisen.
And this is our third episode, third little conversation about Soul Force music. What is Soul Force music and why? The overall scope of these conversations has to do with how to play music more freely and more soulfully, and how that changes how you feel, how that can change how your body moves while you're playing, and how that changes how you show up in the world. Am I missing anything?
That's a good start, man.
Right. So today, Aaron brought up this subject of musical intuition. Musical intuition. And maybe the starting place can be that great quote that of Howard Thurman. He said, "Don't ask what the world needs. Rather ask what makes you come alive. Because what the world needs are people who have come alive." Yeah. I love that quote. And to me, that's a pretty great place to start, because the world is in great need right now. And I have this really cynical voice inside me that sometimes says, does the world really need music? Can musicians really be of service? Aren't we just like entertainment or...
Yeah. Do something practical.
Yeah, exactly. And shouldn't I go out and give mosquito nets to people in malaria-ridden areas? Wouldn't that be of greater service to a world in need rather than playing music? And it's a legitimate question, and I also... I just want to explore that question, and maybe we can find our way to an answer to that question. What can musicians really bring to a world in need? And are there real needs in the world that musicians are uniquely suited, or musicians who have come alive in themselves? Maybe that's the starting place. Musicians who have come alive in themselves can really... meet those needs. So that's kind of a starting place. Do you want to take it somewhere?
Sure. I mean, I think, honestly, what I'd be curious about, Joseph, is talking about what's changed in your performance practice from when, I don't know, the conservatory era to when you started to play from the heart.
Yeah, a lot has changed.
Okay.
Let's see if I can characterize that. Well, it's funny. It's like when I was really little, music was just about having fun. And then it became this effort to prove something about myself. And that's when I was in pain and got really tense and all that kind of thing. And then now it's more about having fun again.
Oh. That's a nice turnaround.
Yeah. And how about for you?
It's similar. Yeah. When I was growing up, I didn't really think much about singing, and just that I enjoyed it, and people seemed to get joy out of it. And then again, it's like trying to prove my worth through being a talented performer, and that's a similar story of physical tension, anxiety around performances. And the turnaround has been, music is just something that, not just something that is joyful, but joy is certainly seems to be at the core of it.
It reminds me of another quote of, I can't remember who it was by, whoever this person said, I don't give a fig for the freedom on this side of complexity, or the simplicity on this side of complexity, or something like that. But I would stake my life on the simplicity on the other side of complexity. And this is an example of the kind of frame of mind that we're bringing to this new musical pedagogy, basically, soul force music. So we're not trying to recreate the joy and simplicity and innocence of childhood, right? We're not trying to we're not regressing to that. I wouldn't want to. I really like being able to play in tune, and to be able to play, the Bach chaconne or whatever it is, So I wouldn't want to regress like that. It's about, now that we have so much experience as either professional or amateur musicians, we have the technique, and how do we go beyond that to the simplicity on the other side of all of this training that we have? To recapture the beauty and innocence and joy and love, the soulfulness that we brought to what we did so effortlessly when we were kids.
Yeah, beautifully put. Yeah.
So one key is musical intuition. You like how I did that?
Yeah, that's a nice callback.
So, musical intuition. What is this? Go.
All right. Well, first, musical intuition, I think the easiest way for me to understand it kinesthetically is...
Wait. Let's stop there. Oh. Kinesthetically.
Oh, I'm sorry, Joseph. I just used a big old word there.
Music in kinesthetic sense? What is that about?
Well, contrary to popular opinion, yeah. So what you actually sensing in your body, what's going on,
right.
And as part of the musical experience.
That's right. And for those of you who don't know what kinesthetic means, it's your body movement sense. So when I can do this and know that my fingers are wiggling, that's my kinesthetic sense telling me that. And maybe we could say proprioceptive.
Yes, that's
because that includes more the emotional kind of stuff that we're talking about, the physical sensations of emotions.
Yes, proprioception. Yes, so proprioceptively, but basically. When I'm following my musical intuition, I'm sure that most musicians have had this experience at least once in their adult life. Sometimes it's just by accident. You just have one good day or 5 minutes in the practice room where everything just goes, right? Yeah. Your whole body opens up. Everything sounds beautiful, and you don't know. Maybe you don't know how you got there. Yeah. But it feels exactly right.
Yeah. The zone.
The zone. The zone, the spot. Yeah, the pocket.
There you go.
The pocket. And so that's actually, so I think the big thing is that is a space that is something that you can consciously and actually really easily come into in yourself.
Yeah, you just need to know how to pay attention, basically.
You want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Before I knew about technique and expressiveness, I was effortlessly expressive. But when I learned about expressiveness, I became effortfully expressive. And what that looked like was what you see in a lot of performers, like when they're really trying to emote. They get really tight in their bodies and making these pain expressions, and oftentimes it doesn't really work, right? It doesn't feel good, and it tends to make when your body gets tighter, your sound gets tighter, less free, and so it can feel like the more expressive you're being, the more effortful you're being, and that really doesn't help. And so, what is expressiveness? It's the ability to include in the feedback loop of making music, which I'll explain very briefly. You want to make a sound, your body moves. The sound happens, you hear the sound, and you decide what to do next. So this is the feedback loop that happens. including in that feedback loop, the emotional sensations that you notice in your own body. And that is the key to musical intuition and playing soulfully, because we have this vast resource of emotional intelligence in each of us that we like what is it, 3.5 billion years of proprioception that we are the product of. And even if we're just counting mammals with our limbic systems, that's still a couple 100 million years. And we have that inside us, and all you have to do is just notice that and allow that to be a part of your playing.
So I think, again, it's simple.
Very simple.
Very simple. I think that's the thing. So a 60-second thing that you can try is, if you feel like it. So my experience prior to coming into my body, listening for my heart, and integrating that into my musical experience was I would have these thoughts about what I ought to do. And if you can actually engage that gently in yourself, I notice, I should really mark these pizzicato sections here. Now, I start to narrow in my body when that happens. And if you try it, if you really play out that thought, you might sense that in yourself. So you're looking at a piece of music, I really ought to do that. And that narrowing starts to happen. And that quality is antithetical to good musical practice. And if you don't want to take my word for it, give it a try.
Well, that seems to be a fundamental approach to not just music pedagogy and education, but just like to Western civilization is it's the approach of control and how you make changes in the world from the story of control is through the application of force. You know where to put your energy, and if it doesn't work, well, you just put more force in it. This is a fundamental way of being that we have all learned, been inculcated into. And so what you're saying, and I certainly noticed this so much of myself, being in the practice room in music school or wherever. It's like, it's not working, I'll try harder, and then that trying harder tends to get in the way. And so I remember my own violin teacher, especially when I started to have pain, he said, you should relax more. And that seems like a useful thing to do, because I'm getting really tense. Well, what's the opposite of tension? It's relaxation. Great. But my overall approach was still the same. I didn't have this feedback loop kind of model. I didn't really have access to noticing what was happening in my body to be able to make a change, to even be able to relax. We need skills. Skills around effortlessness. Yeah, that's right. So, the thought that comes to mind is like, what are some of these skills that allow for effortlessness? What are skills or technologies? Well, maybe I can put it like this. So with any response to an intention, look, the way we do things is like there's a stimulus, which is the phone ringing, or the idea to do something, or you suddenly remember that you forgot something, or like here's that note on the page, and you know that you have to play it or whatever. That's a stimulus. And then there's the response, often a habitual response, and habits are great. If you had to relearn how to brush your teeth every time, probably would never get to bed. So, but a lot of times these habits, especially the habits of control, can have a lot of tension, and because habits are very unconscious, or somewhat unconscious, it's really hard to change that. So the fundamental thing that we're working with is habits, and the biggest stumbling block there is the automaticity and unconsciousness of habits. So what we really need are like after the stimulus of this, hey, there's this thing I want to do, we need a pause. And then the knowledge of, oh, there are other paths to take here.
Yes.
And there are many, 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 many paths, but the ability to pause and notice what's happening, and that allows you to have some space to make a different choice.
Something that comes up for me also is, first, I agree with that wholeheartedly. But something that comes up for me is, so the first step is either your body telling you or acknowledging that there's something that you're doing that you could be doing differently.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a hard step.
Yeah, it is.
To even, oftentimes, my personal experience is, it's like my first couple go-arounds of making big habit changes is basically my actions and the world meet somewhere, and it's not really healthy for me, and I ignore it for a while because this is the way I've been doing things, and then it gets to a point where I can't ignore it anymore. Yeah. So first, step one is just acknowledging that I'm not doing this, or I'm doing this in a way that is contributing to my overall suffering, something like that.
Yeah. And we live in a culture of control, so we often might even associate muscular tension, stress, with doing things well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, working very hard.
Right. So we need to know what the other choices are. We need to be able to sort of have a realignment of our values around more focus, more control, more effort as being good, to a more balanced approach that doesn't externalize what's happening in the body, that doesn't externalize what's happening in your life as a result of your music practice and performance.
Now that's an interesting parallel. Yeah. That's interesting.
Because it's all there. It's all there. Right. So relating this back to musical intuition, one of the things that really gives great depth and soulfulness to a performance is precisely what we're talking about here, the ability to notice what's happening in your body, especially the sensations of emotion, even just the listening for the emotions that you notice as you play. And so that's kind of this very simple thing to do. You just notice your own emotions to what you're playing as you're playing in real time. In real time, it's a feedback loop. So that one thing, in a way, is exceedingly simple. It's putting it into practice and knowing what to do with it does take practice. It's very much like meditation. In that way, you can know how to pay attention in an effortless way in meditation, or you can know to sense your breath, but like bringing that into daily life and having success with that, even in just sitting for 10 minutes on a cushion, is another matter. So there is an element of practice here, as well as that sort of effortless or immediate simplicity of just paying attention to your emotional sensations. And there's also there's also an ability to deepen this. So we were talking about this the other day. I believe that everybody who can sense their body and make music in whatever way it is can bring this kind of musical intuition, the soulfulness, that sort of listening in, like what in here wants to be expressed in sound. And there's really something to be said for deepening that.
So I think that's something that I didn't even realize there was a possibility for me to deepen my own sense of embodied, especially emotional awareness. So, and it's even allowing for that possibility is something that might make a change.
Yeah, even knowing that that's possible. The thought that just came up is, typical musical pedagogy is like putting in a lot of effort to gain a lot of techniques and learn repertoire, exercising greater and greater control. And it works to an extent, and it can also leave out like heart, a real soulful expression. I didn't learn anything explicitly about that.
Yeah, me either.
In my training, other than play beautifully or play expressively, it's like, okay, thanks. And if you go to a competition, what can you compete based on what things you can measure, and that's like getting all the notes right and having a perfectly clear sound and blah 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 blah. And none of those things are soulfulness.
Yes.
Right, and this is like getting back to what does the world need? Well, the world needs musicians who are soulful. Whatever whether or not the world actually needs music. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, But I don't know.
Here we are, and we're staying. Damn it!
Yeah, we're here. We're here. That's the kind of the thing. So what are we gonna do?
Right.
And the world needs more soulfulness, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So what if musical training, instead of solely relying on technique building, repertoire building, what if it was about deepening your own ability to listen, ever more subtle variations of your own, the word is enteric, your ability to sense what's inside your body and your, all the heart, gut, groin, head, all these different emotional centers that we have, and to include those in various ways in your playing. What if it was the ability to do that at deeper and deeper and deeper levels?
Right. I think something that comes up for me is with the goal of technological control in music. Yeah. The rewards are an ever diminishing cycle. Yeah,
that's right.
So let's say you get to basically anybody who goes through a conservatory program, you're better than 99% of the population already at music.
Yeah.
Right, but because we've learned this, or at least what I absorbed from conservatory was this mentality of okay, I need more and more and more control, more technique. Yeah. And the fact of the matter is that you get this diminishing return. You practice for 6 months, and you finally get that vowel. It's like, okay, awesome, but what does the world need a better vowel, or does the world need you?
Yeah. Yeah, and what version of you would be most beneficial to a world that seems like it's falling apart?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it might not be the version of you that's incredibly stressed out.
Pointlessly stressed out.
Pointlessly stressed out.
Yeah.
Because that only contributes more to the pointless stress of the world. And one of the themes of Soul Force music is interrelatedness, interbeing. It's a Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Zen teacher. That was one of his terms, interbeing. And it says that we are not separate nodes in the world, but rather that we are all little pieces of the world, with our bodies, the thoughts that we have, the relationships that we have. These are all little pieces of the world. And we can help make the world into a more loving, beautiful place by becoming more loving and beautiful in ourselves. And then sharing that through our music.
And if your woo-woo centers are firing right now,
thanks for bringing that up.
Just for me, what comes up as an example is like, I'm sure we've all had a moment. It could either be with a partner, or maybe with a family member, or just with a friend, where the love that you have for this person opens you up to a greater way of being. Right, you're more selfless, you're more generous, you're happier, you're gentler. All the things that you want to be happen as a result of you allowing yourself to be connected with another person. And this way of playing from the heart and listening, is a process that allows you to do that effortlessly. And so, yeah, and so the question that comes up for me is, what I would rather have in a performance is to, okay, so maybe I don't nail my ah vowel. Maybe I do, but I have a beautiful connection with people, something that moves me and moves them, and maybe changes both of our lives.
Yeah.
I've been changed by a performance before.
Yeah.
I would rather have that than, I got all my ah vowels.
Yeah. What strikes me about that is that the technique is in service of the true spirit of music. Like, why do we play music? What are we doing? What are we doing? Making a bunch of sounds, vibrations in the air. You know, it's about communication, human connection, and sharing those things that cannot be put into words.
Yeah.
Bringing more soulfulness into the world. And one of our core principles is that technique should be in service of that rather than having technique as the pinnacle.
Yeah.
All right. So we've been talking for a little while here. Maybe we can end with a couple of like practice ideas.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, I certainly like this idea. Yeah, maybe 60 seconds. So I guess, of your process. So,
right, very simple thing. Listen to your favorite music. Notice the sensations, the physical sensations that happen in your body as you listen to it. All right. Step 2, come to your instrument, and as you play, do the same exact thing. It's the same exact thing. Just listening to the physical sensations of your emotions as you play.
Yeah, and so what will be fun or frustrating, as what I've experienced.
Funstrating.
What will be funstrating for you is, so you listen to music, and maybe your analytical mind drops out as you listen to your emotional center. And you become one with the music, and you have a beautiful experience. Then you go to an instrument, and all those nice nice analytical habits that we've all picked up start to flare. So the moment of taking, you can again so take a pause.
That's right.
Take a deep breath. Do a little sigh, and notice that your life just got better. And as you're playing, or as you're singing. So you're singing something, you noticed, oh, I feel like I've lost my emotional connection. Great, just take a pause. Let yourself come back to somewhere like balanced.
Yeah.
And then keep listening.
Yeah, that you can't listen to, somebody whispering in your ear while there's a whole racket going on in the room. So all of your so that's what that pause is for. So allowing just a little bit of space so that your attention can, so these subtle bodily signals can actually come through, like all the other stuff that we all have going on.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
I don't think so.
I think that's great. All right.